Couple of my favorite topics today: cheap food and cheap gas. Kurt Beecher is in studio, the manager of the Community Co-op Oil Association C-Store, and Lisa Carl, the general manager, came in. Lisa, why did you start smirking when I said my favorite? Cheap gas and cheap food.
I think that's a favorite for everyone.
Everyone, yeah. I really enjoy working with the Community Co-op because you guys are out there promoting agriculture through the use of ethanol. You guys, Lisa, have really been leaders for many years in promoting ethanol and spreading the word about the benefits.
Yes, you know, and we're a cooperative, and I mean, not only do we work with the farmers, but we also work with everyone. But the
farmers are a big base of your customers. So.
They are, and so we are part of the cooperative way of giving back to our customers. As you know, they buy from us, and we buy from them.
And Kurt, you fit right in because you're heavy emphasis on old farm boy.
Yes, I'm farm boy. We farmed southeast of town here for 28 years, and I know all about the farming, and I know kind of what's going on about the crops and stuff, and what farmers have to go through in the spring and the fall with weather-related stuff. And I'm just glad that I had this opportunity to work for a co-op. I'm going on my 18th year.
I got you beat. You know, at the beginning of next month, I'll have put in 20 years.
Really?
Yeah. It doesn't seem like that long until I start going somewhere, and once I realize how many people I've gotten to know, and then I start thinking, yeah, maybe I have been around for a while.
Yeah, I know. And I go on vacation for maybe a couple, 3 days. It seems like you've been gone for weeks. You know, it's just like if you have a dairy farm, cows are waiting for you. You know, you can't get back to go to work again. So I enjoy it very much.
We have to take a break for the markets in about 3 minutes, but we better at least explain to folks what I meant by cheap food and really cheap gas.
This Thursday, September 17th, we're having a E85 promotion at our Cenex gas station down at 28 East Division.
I say by the viaduct.
Yep, by the viaduct. Thank you. But from 11 to 2, we will be offering 85 cents off per gallon of E85 that is sold during that time. And also we will have available pork burgers served by the Dakota Rice Corn Growers. So it'll be a good time. Stop down, fill up your gas tanks, and see your neighbors.
I was a little worried last year when you did this, though, because a state trooper stopped in to fill his gas tank up, and he said, hope he's not looking for me. I'm happy to report he wasn't. He just stopped to take it to help taxpayers save a little bit of money.
Yep.
But we had remember, Kurt, last year we had a great time.
Yeah, we had a good time, and I recall it was kind of rainy weather too, so we had everything in the tire shop. So rain or shine, it's going to be successful.
Yeah. Poor Jeff Scholson, while Jerry was helping too, we were grilling outside. There was something about some fire code that we couldn't grill in the tire shop. I don't know why. But it was a fun time, and lots of folks stopping by to get a sandwich and take advantage of E85.
Yep. It's a good product, and it has been a positive move that we have implemented into our station, and we've kept it. And
well, not only that, we have E85 in our tank, but we got the blenders, so now you can use 15, which is acceptable for any vehicle 2001 and newer. Only reason they picked 2001 is because they said they couldn't find enough cars that were old enough to test it. So it's a good product.
I would have been more than happy to volunteer my car to help them test it. And I know it's not approved, but I have heard that E85 works just fine in those older cars. It's not approved, can't recommend it, but someone told me that there might be a farmer that might come in there and put E85 in it.
Well, we have a lot of customers that look at the price of regular gas versus E85. And if it's 60 cents is about the break even, because anybody knows that if you put regular E85 in a regular car, of course you're going to not get the mileage. So if you do the math,
that's kind of what it comes out to.
That's what it comes out to.
Yeah. Although newer cars now, it seems like they're setting those computer chips up better than they're almost setting them up for higher blends of ethanol.
I would say with the customers that I talk to that have a new E85 vehicle, there's very, very different. There is no difference in mileage. And power is the same or whatever. Yeah.
Well, Kurt, Lisa, if you can stand by, we have to take a break for the Markets Oil Association in Faribault, and also Kurt Beecher, who manages Community Co-op Oil Association convenience store by the viaduct. You don't oversee the the one over on the west side, do you, Court?
Well, I guess what you could call me would be the maintenance guy. If they have a problem with a hose that's leaking or whatever, and then with the state, you know, we have to do a monthly inspection of the tanks and the sumps and filters. If something's leaking, I have to keep track of that. So I was assigned to take care of that duty for both Morristown and the Mobile Station.
I think most of us, we don't have a clue all the rules and the regulations and everything that a convenience store, when you're dealing with a product like gasoline and ethanol, that you have to adhere to, right, Lisa? That's kind of
right.
your job too, to make sure all that stuff gets done.
Yes, and Kurt with his farm background, that was a good fit for him to do the maintenance part too.
He knows the difference between a crescent wrench and a pipe wrench.
Yeah, yes he does.
A 3/4 inch or an inch makes a big difference. Plus the fact that the state's so stringent on their regulations and stuff, like if we would have a spill or whatever, that's pretty much, okay, you better call that in and tell somebody about it because it's hazardous stuff and whatnot. So far we've been really, really lucky. I think that was only called in one time when we had a spill.
Well, as a farmer, like if I'm heading out to the field with a sprayer and I have a spill, and in my world the definition of a spill is more herbicide than what you would put on 1 acre. Right. So if you're putting on, 10 gallons an acre and 2 ounces of this product, you spill more than 10 gallons, it needs to be reported. Right. And I always visit with Joe Spitzmuller with the Minnesota Department of Agriculture once a year, go over the rules, any changes, regulations, and I always review what's the definition of a spill, and he tells me, and he said, you have to remember, it's not against the law to have an accident and have a spill, but it is against the law not to report it.
Right.
And I don't know if in your world you have some sort of cost share funds, but as a farmer, when I buy a pesticide or I buy fertilizer, there's a small charge, like a tax, that goes into a big fund that then is there to help clean up the spills. And I'm not one that really enjoys paying taxes, but I don't mind paying that because it could happen to me sometime. So it's kind of nice that we're using these products responsibly.
Yeah, we do have that in the fuel area too. We have a petro fund, which is used to help clean up large fuel spills. So like in October, November, December, and January, the fund is getting below a certain mark. Once it drops below that, they assess 2 cents per gallon on all fuels sold. And so that will be going on in October.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you call it a petro fund. In my world, it's called the Acura fund. Government's great for abbreviations, but we know what it means. And
But it does have its good point. People complain about being inspected, but we get our tanks inspected yearly, just in case there's an underground leak someplace where we can't see it or detect it, or we wouldn't know about these tests. So it is a good deal.
Yeah. And there again, it's just being responsible stewards.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about the blender pumps. Is that about 1.5 years ago now that you the pumps and like the tanks and something had to be done? So it was a golden opportunity then to put in the blender pumps.
It was. Actually, it goes back to the fall of 2013. They had changed the fuel that was coming through the pipeline, and we could no longer carry 2 grades of gasoline per our agreement with Cenex because of what was coming. And so we had to we made the choice of either dropping 85 or getting in another Cenex product. And our directors and patrons, we decided that we went with the 85. So
I do know you have a few farmers on your board, but you have some non-farmers too. But that's what's nice about a co-op, is that you're making these decisions and talk to your customers. What do you think, and come up with a consensus and a decision.
Right. Yeah. And that's what we did. We talked with the patrons, and Kurt was polling the customers, and how do you feel about E85? Should we continue? And it was worthwhile, so we upgraded our piping system, which was a requirement to have the 85. We switched one of the tanks over.
Plus the fact that all the tanks now have a fiberglass containment, where it's a fiberglass box, and your pumps fit on top of that, so if you do have a spill, it can't seep into the ground. You can tell immediately if there's a leak because you're going to have some residue on your things. And all the sump pumps are the same design, the same way.
There again, it was a little more expensive to do that, but if there ever is a leak, you're going to know about it before you've contaminated a whole lot of ground or groundwater.
Right.
It reminds me of a lot of the ocean-going ships, the freighters hauling crude. We keep hearing about the double-bottom ships. Kind of the same principle, and we have double-bottomed fuel barrels in the ground.
You got double-walled pipes. Yeah, right.
But there again, it's about being responsible.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And basically, right now we're in the midst of doing a little bit of an update over at Mobile, where we're going to put in new containment boxes to keep updating. It's going to be an updating thing all the time because you can never keep ahead of the regulations.
That has to be tough on, like maybe smaller, for lack of a better definition, mom and pop, like convenience store, gas station. Remember, like when we were growing up, Kurt. For some of those, we're talking about some serious money here to stay up with the time, so to speak.
It is. It is.
Yeah, it's quite a deal. And I think that's where your margins on fuel, years ago I would say that a nickel was a pretty good margin, but now you need about 15 to 20, not only for your equipment, but for your credit card expenses too.
Well, that's a lot of things people don't realize. Whenever I swipe a credit card, you pay like 3% or something like that, I was told, back to the credit card company. So if I come in, Kurt would much rather have me pay with cash or a check because he'd know that if it wasn't good, he would, then you aren't paying that 3%.
The 1st of September we're trying this, and we're hope that it works, and it's pretty successful. If you have the green cash in your hand and you want to pay for your fuel, we will knock the nickel off. So
because that's the cost of sending it to the credit card.
Right, it's cheaper to get cash and give them a nickel discount than it is to go run it through a credit card. Yeah.
Yeah, but the reason that sometimes if you're traveling, they don't know who you are. Either you have cash or they won't take a check from you when you're 2 states away.
Years ago, I would probably, throughout the day, probably have 50 to 75 checks per day. Now that's down to maybe 10, and the rest is all credit card. Yeah. And that cost us. That really cost us.
And is that 3% cost thereabouts on debit cards too?
Yes, it's on debit cards too. It's a little bit less if they know their PIN numbers.
Oh, it's like they're getting cash in from their own checking account.
Right.
But it's a big expense, and then all the equipment that goes with that too. It's not just your purchase; it's to buy all that stuff.
Yeah, all the readers, and now even though they're talking about now credit cards with a chip in them to kind of prevent fraud. So there again, all of those readers, every place I stop, those, instead of just sliding the card, you put it in. So those are all going to have to be updated as we move forward.
Right. Yeah, the EMV upgrade is coming up here, the deadline for it. So,
we have the equipment, the piece that uses the chip. We just need the software to update it. So it's always it's a continual thing. It really is. Yeah.
I'll bet sometimes Kurt might think of another phrase other than thing, but we probably couldn't put that.
We'll save that for later.
Yeah.
But you should take special note too and say thank you to all the customers, because it was a time when it was pretty hard to get in and around there, when you were doing that construction and upgrade.
Oh yeah. People were very, very how should I say it?
Understanding.
Understanding. They just knew that we were doing this thing, and they didn't, they came back. We didn't lose any customers.
Right. And they understood that it was to keep the E85,
Because I understand when you get a tanker load, you have this big tank committed to E85, while you can't bring in 200 gallons or 500 gallons or 1,000, you want to bring a whole tanker load. And I was hearing that was a problem with some stations, is that then it would sit there for months and start to degrade a little bit. Well, now you don't have that problem, because the ordinary customer that wants to just burn the normal E10, you're blending it right there out of that tank, so you've got fresh product coming all the time, right? That's one of the big advantages.
Yeah, we have regular deliveries coming in.
Plus, by doing all this, we freed up another tank, so now we have premium fuels for all your boats, small engines, and all that kind of stuff, and that's been taken off real well too.
Because that's a choice you had to make. It was the E10, the regular gasoline we use, and a premium, and you couldn't still have E85 tanks in it. So it worked out really well. And there was a lot of cooperation too, if I'm not mistaken, like the Minnesota Corn Growers, American Lung Association, or maybe even the Minnesota Department of Agriculture has some funds committed for stations that are thinking about doing this?
Yes, we work with all of them. And like the Lung Association, they provide us with the labeling that you see on the E85 and E15 and they work with us to make sure we're up to date on what we need to have on the pumps.
So it's kind of a way to encourage stations to go that way.
Exactly, yep.
Notice I
Lisa,
did.
Lisa can correct me, I believe we were the 6th station to have the E15, the E85 combo.
Yeah, the blender
Right.
pumps.
The blender pumps,
Yep.
it's not a well,
Yeah. They're trying to build that
Build that,
infrastructure as
right,
time
yeah.
goes on.
yeah. And
So-
also in the station, we do have brochures that point you in the right direction if you're going on a trip and you wanna continue 85 with, you know, they've got different stations listed,
Oh.
what has what.
Or if you were not technology challenged, you could probably on your smartphone
Figure it out.
figure that all
Yeah.
out too. But
Yeah.
so we are slowly building that infrastructure.
Mhm.
One of the things I've noticed, I've been traveling a fair amount, driving to other states, and virtually everywhere I go, I see these signs that it's at least E10 now. You know, ethanol is being used just about in every state.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
Mhm.
yeah.
We better talk a little bit more review again about the big event on Thursday. Really looking forward to that for folks. It's so much fun. A lot of the corn and soybean growers are there, and even some from the state office and regional representatives are there to help spread the word. And
Mhm.
It is a good time. We have a good turnout. They have a lot of fun with it. I know in years past, they've been down there washing windshields and filling people's cars for them.
Yeah, the board of directors guys come out too and have a good talk. So if you wanna meet your board, they're out there. They're directing traffic and helping in. Cause there is a lineup, you know, it's it's a good deal.
Yeah.
We're going for about 84 cents or something like that per gallon?
but there is a limit. I couldn't bring a 400-gallon tank.
No, that happened 9/11. No, you can, I think it's 20-gallon limit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, so we can spread it around
should-
and
that should
everybody
help.
take advantage of it.
Pretty much, yeah.
And hopefully, maybe there's someone that doesn't know about it or might try it, find out it works well, and now we've got a new customer for E85 or higher blends.
Your best advertising is word of mouth. So just come down and visit with somebody that's tried it. Maybe you can learn something, maybe you can try it yourself.
And the other key is we gotta get more folks educated about how easy it is to just not go and fill up with regular, which is 10% ethanol, but use the blender the blender pump and go up to 30%, cause it works well for you.
Oh yeah, it works fine, yeah, and it's easy to do and just whatever your flavor.
So exactly how does it work? You just come in and you say, I want 10%, I want 15%, or?
We have different, like if you wanna go on a 50% ratio, you get 87, put in 10 gallons, hang it up, go to your 85, and put 10 gallons in, you got your mixture. So yeah, it's pretty easy to do. And if you have any problems at all, just come inside and I'll come out and help you.
Or he doesn't work 24 hours a day, does he? So there'd be someone that would help you.
Yeah, there's somebody.
He's a dedicated company man, but not quite that dedicated. And the times again on Thursday?
11 to 2.
11 to 2.
And I might also add that if you are a lady who doesn't like to put your own gas in, you can come down to the store anytime and we will help you. And that's always kind of an issue in the wintertime where they might be hesitant or whatever, but if they don't feel comfortable, just stop at the store and I'll go down and
And somebody run out and fill it up for you.
Because we all know that it's a little bit of a distance and it's a bad angle or whatever.
There's a little bit of a slope there.
So that's just how it turned out. But if you want some help and you want to support your co-op, we're certainly there to help you. We also give out a free cup of coffee for all year long for any time of gas purchase. So try
I
that.
didn't know that. Free cup of coffee.
Yeah, you can try that at the other stores. Good luck.
Yeah, say, speaking of the other store, that was really a nice fit when that opportunity presented itself for Community Co-op Oil.
That was a good fit for us. When we purchased your crude oil, we got the mobile station here in Faribault, and we also got Morris Mart in Morristown. So,
Plus a lot of bulk customers too, all
Yeah.
the country that were with DeGroote.
and additional bulk storage, which storage
That
is
was
key.
a really key.
That was
Yes,
a big deal.
yeah, that was a good fit for us. So when we heard that was available, we took the opportunity.
All at once, we called the board meeting real fast. How
We
bad
did.
to see if we could work this out.
Yes.
And then before that, they added additional LP storage too out in the country, out east of town. So that was.
I watched that go up.
Yeah, that was a good deal.
Was that 2 years ago when propane you know, there were such shortages, and it was just a nightmare. And
that was a nightmare. That was my first year as manager.
Oh
Josh's
boy,
first
baptism
year as
by
energy
fire.
division manager. Oh yeah. But we learned a lot in that year, and Josh was able to find a couple tanks, and we purchased them, which it was perfect timing, because after that, it was hard to get tanks. The prices went way up on them. And we found a good spot for them. We were able to buy a small acreage to put them on, and we have room to add more down the road. But for now, we're happy with what we got. We got additional fuel storage from the DeGrood purchase. So.
And the other thing about diesel fuel and propane, we have peak demands, spring and fall on diesel, fall and winter on propane. And if you can fill those tanks, like, you know, my co-op always talked to me about the summer fill, and every summer they just go and top off all the tanks, so at least we start the corn drying season full. Well, you kind of do the same thing, only it's a lot bigger tank.
Right, yep. And yeah, and we encourage our customers to do the same too. Starting everybody with a full tank is key once you go into the busy season like that. And actually, I would say, you know, for any of the fuel customers, you'll want to get your diesel tanks filled here soon, because in October, one of the big refineries will be shutting down for maintenance, or doing turnaround for maintenance, and that's going to affect the supply.
So having everything full before. I read something about that here a couple, 3 weeks ago, and I'm thinking, all right, where's the common sense in that? During the biggest of the big demand, diesel fuel fall harvest, why would you shut down for routine maintenance, or why wouldn't you wait maybe another month, or do it a month sooner? I'm just a little fish in a big sea, but it just didn't seem to.
No, it doesn't make sense to me. When I was talking with one of our suppliers, a comment they had made though was that the crews that go around and do these or maintenance, it sounds like they just work their way around the U.S. and so when they're there,
when it fits into their schedule, this is when we do it.
Yeah, and you don't know how long it's going to take. It depends on what they find. So, but we just want to let everybody know, fill your tanks and repair. You know, because the more we have in the tanks out in the country, and we get our tanks filled, then it helps to offset when there is a shortage.
And you work with customers too, don't you, Lisa? Well, Kurt's old like I am, but remember a 500-gallon barrel at the farm? That was a big storage tank.
Oh, you bet.
Well, now I've heard of some farmers even being able to take a whole semi, and that's like 9,000 gallons.
Yeah. We have a few that can take transport loads. But you know, on the same token, look at the tractors nowadays. They're not taking the 20, 30 gallons the tractors did years ago. I mean, 300-400 gallons.
To fill it, to keep her going for 24 hours.
Right, so that 500-gallon tank doesn't go very far anymore.
and I just have a 500-gallon tank, but I thought oftentimes maybe I should have another 500-gallon tank there.
Well, you know who to call.
Yes. You'll deliver way down yonder. What does Missy always say up front? Sure, your farmer's in the middle of nowhere. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why you are the way you are, Jerry, because you came from the middle of nowhere. Poor innocent me, they're picking on me again. I think that was kind of a slam, but you work with customers and you want to add another 1,000-gallon propane tank or 1,000 or a bigger diesel tank, get it hooked up. And you don't just throw it out there anymore, because we got all the regulations there too, because and I don't argue this, some of these farmers now have the same rules and regulations as maybe the service stations or the convenience stores do, but they're storing a lot of fuel in one spot too, so I understand that.
Sure.
Right, yep.
But that was a big deal, some new regulations that just went in with how much fuel, and you had to have containments and all that. Remember that about a year ago, farmers were concerned about that? And
yeah, that was a big issue.
And a lot of farmers I saw, they took the same idea. They almost have a double bottom tank, because isn't capitalism great? These companies knew this was coming, so they started designing these precast concrete things, that was, and then they just set their fuel barrels in there. So if there's a spill, it's going to sit in like this concrete pit above the ground.
Right, and it's contained.
Yeah, but so it's easier to clean up then before it gets into the ground where it gets really expensive.
Right.
Is community co-op, we're still growing in size? Kind of picking up new customers as we go along?
Oh, yeah, we always pick up new customers, plus, this is our 90th birthday too.
Yeah.
That's even older than Kurt.
Older than dirt. So 90 years, yeah.
Wow, that's
1925.
1925. Yeah, I always try and get to your annual meeting. Yeah, it is a great lunch. But beside that, it's fun to see people, even if they do pick on me. And it's always, you know, this is our 88th, this is our 89th, and
Yeah, this year is our 90th, so it has been good.
now as we move forward, you're going to continue to carry the Cenex brand.
Yes.
And you're going to continue to carry the mobile brand, right?
Yes. Yeah. When we first acquired the Groskreutz, we just kind of sat back and got feedback from the customers as far as what they wanted to see there. And the customers who were there said they would just soon leave it the way it is, don't change it, and we respected that. You know, there's still dividends for the purchases there. It's just that they're not eligible for the regional dividend because our regional comes from
Is a
Cenex.
co-op too, right?
Yes.
Whereas here it's a mobile, so that section of dividends went away at that level.
Right.
Because it's a privately held, or I mean, a publicly traded company, I assume. But when you mention Cenex, obviously, you know, that's the quality brand, we're all heard of Ruby, Fuel Master, Premium. But mobile's been around for a long time too, and is a very quality product. And to tell you the honest truth, sir, I have John Deere tractors. Why? Because that's what I grew up with. But is there, in terms of the quality of the tractor, whether it's red or green or AGCO, all quality, and I think you could probably say that about oil companies too in terms of their product.
Right, and both have quality products, and whatever the customers prefer is what we will deliver to them, so.
We're almost out of time. Give us the details. Thursday, cheap food, cheap gas.
11 to 2, E85 is 85 cents off per gallon.
11 to 2 at just the Community Co-op C-store by the viaduct.
Yes.
Right. Thanks for coming in, Lisa.
Thanks for having
You
us.
too,
Jerry.
Kurt.
Yeah, thank you for having us.